The sky had been gray for weeks. Not the soft gray of a quiet morning, but a heavy, angry gray that seemed to press down on the rooftops. The elders in our village had always spoken of the great flood, how the waters had risen once before, long ago, to wash away the pride of mankind. A lesson, they called it. A punishment for our arrogance. But when the rains came this time, no one believed it would be more than another storm. We were wrong. The first drops fell softly, tapping against the windows like fingers, asking to be let in. By nightfall, those taps had become fists. The river swelled, creeping over its banks, swallowing the paths we had walked since childhood. Still, the village leader, old man Haran, stood on the porch of the meeting hall and told us not to fear. "The flood is a lesson," he said. "We have forgotten to respect the earth, and so it reminds us, but we are prepared." We weren't. By the third day, the water reached the doorsteps. Families dragged their belongings upstairs, piled furniture on tables, lifted children onto rooftops. The mill by the river vanished beneath the current, its great wheels spinning uselessly in the torrent. The animals, those we couldn't bring inside, bellowed in terror as the water dragged them away. Still, Haran insisted, this is how the world corrects itself. We endure and we learn. Then the bridge collapsed. It had stood for generations, a sturdy arch of stone that connected our village to the high road. When the water took it, the sound was like thunder splitting the earth. That was when the whispers began. Not from the elders, but from the children, the ones who had seen the shapes in the water. Lena, the youngest daughter of the baker, was the first to speak of them. "There are things in the flood," she said, her voice small but certain. "They're not fish. They're not logs. They move. Wrong." We laughed. Of course we laughed. Fear makes children imagine monsters. But then others saw them too. Dark shapes gliding just beneath the surface, following the currents but not ruled by them. Sometimes when the water was still for a moment, you could see them clearer. Long, slender things that curled and uncurled like fingers. Haran dismissed it as fear playing tricks. "The flood is a lesson," he repeated. "Nothing more." But the water kept rising. The fifth night was the worst. The rain fell so hard it felt like the sky itself was falling. The wind howled through the broken shutters, and beneath it all was another sound, a low, wet noise like something dragging itself across the mud. That was when the screams started. Old man Haran's house was the first to go. Not from the water, but from what came with it. They burst through his door. Not men, not beasts, but things of the flood. Pile of slick bodies that moved like water given flesh. Their mouths were too wide, their fingers too long. They took Haran into the dark, and his last words were not of lessons, but of warnings. The village woke to silence. The rain had stopped, but the water remained, thick and still, and in it we saw the truth. The flood was never a lesson. It was a herald. The things in the water had been waiting, patient, for the currents to bring them to our doors. We tried to run. Some of us made it to the hills, where the water couldn't reach. Others didn't. The things took them quickly, pulling them under without a splash. By the time the sun finally broke through the clouds, our village was gone. Not drowned. Taken, DC. Now, when the sky darkens and the wind carries the scent of rain, I do not think of lessons. I think of the warning we ignored. The flood was never the end. It was only the beginning. And the things in the water are still hungry.